And welcome back. We are now installing GAMADV-XTD3 on macOS. This is macOS Sonoma. Okay, so let's double check now. So let's open up Chrome and let's go to the GAMADV-XTD3, going to the wiki. And if you've watched the Windows one already and you're bored by my jokes, I only have so many jokes, so please don't judge me. If you haven't watched the wiki, these are all fresh and new jokes. Okay, so under the wiki over here, and if we say how to install advanced GAM, it will get downloads where you can go to the stuff for Windows. You can also download it for Mac, but we're going to use a command rather. So under Linux and macOS and Google Cloud Shell, we can actually use a specific command here. So we're going to do configuration directories, we're going to do installs, we're going to do all of this fun stuff. But under actually installing it, if we go to downloads, see, and the GitHub releases, that's for Windows and obviously other stuff. So now we're going to run this. Let's grab this, let's copy this, and let's open up the terminal. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we are going to run this command in our terminal like this. Okay, what it's going to do is it's going to use a curl command, which is actually going to download this install sh file from the GitHub user content for the GAMADV-XTD3. So basically it's going to run automatically from the internet. So if we push enter, what it's going to do is it's going to download it here. It's going to start downloading over here. It says 31 megs. It extracts it to my bin folder, adds a GAM alias to the profile file and a GAM alias to the profile file under ZS HRC. Okay, now I'm going to sort of like just step back for 2 seconds. If I open up my Finder and go and look in here, so under extracting archives user Paul Auger bin. So if I go into there, there's the bin over here, and you can see that there's stuff that's been chucked into there. Absolutely fine. Then the GAM alias to the profile file uses Paul Auger. So now if you go and look here, there isn't a dot profile and there isn't a dot ZS HRC. But if I push the command button, the shift button, and the period button, it shows me all of my hidden dot files. So if we go and look in here, we've got users profile. So if we scroll down, there's profile there. If I double click on that, you see this is what it's done. It's actually added an alias there and says, where's it found? GAM uses Paul bin, and that's where it's actually found. So that's the one, and then under ZSHR, it's done the same thing over there. So basically, where it's chucked it over here inside the bin and chucked it over there, that is now referenced in various places. So that's basically what it's talking about. Okay, so can you run a full browser on this machine? Yes, enter. GAM is now installed. Are you ready to set up a GAM API project? And I'm going to say yes, enter. Google Workspace admin email. So if you haven't done it already, I do suggest you log into your admin section. So I'm going to say admin.google.com, and I'm in there. Make sure that you're in, make sure that you're on Chrome. It doesn't really work very well on Safari. Perfect, so I'm now logged in. Let's just zoom in a little bit so that it's all nice and pretty for you. That seems nice and good. Okay, so we've done the downloads, and let's go and actually install this now. So it says here, we are looking at a couple of things. I'm going to set a configuration directory. Okay, so the default GAM configuration directory is under users, admin, and GAM. So now I'm obviously not under admin, I'm actually under myself. It's talking about the bin over here. If you've installed another directory, please substitute that in the directions here. So the default we're going to do is actually set up the default in this. Going back inside here, looking at myself. And under myself, I am going to make another folder called GAM config. File, new folder, and I'm going to say GAM config. Okay, so that's there. I have one here called GAM work, which is something that I just do, and that's where I put it. Let's see if they talk about GAM work here. Let's just say Control F, GAM work. Yes, there is. Okay, so we're going to play with that just now. Okay. So under the Finder, we've got GAM config and GAM work. Let's just actually rename this. So It wants us to add this following line to one of these files based on my shell. So if you're using bash, you're using bash rc, we are using this one as we've just checked, and there's also profile. So let's actually go into the config, and we've got a profile here. So if I open up profile, you'll see that that's there. So let's actually just copy that and put that in here. And I am going to change this. So I'm going to change that, copy that, and remove the admin and put that there. I'm going to save this. And the second one is under the ZSHRC, and I'm going to put that there. And I'm going to copy this again and change my name again. Copy, paste, save, close. Okay. You'll need to enable the setting in the environment. The easiest way is to probably close your terminal and open up a new session. This will load the new environment variable, including the one you just added. You can test this by issuing this command. So let's just copy that. Where is my terminal? Okay, there's my terminal, but I'm actually going to make a new one. I'm going to push this in here, and it says that is where my GAM config is. So absolutely good. Okay, this should print the name of the directory used above. Alternatively, if you want to start a new session, you can do this and play around with this. If you need to make sure GAM config directory already exists, test it like this. If this gives you an error, make this directory. Okay, so all of those things, please go through them based on what you actually need. Now, we're going to set a working directory. You should establish a GAM working directory, and that's what we had earlier, GAM work. That's where you do everything. That's where you export CSV files. That's where you play with everything, okay? So you're going to store your GAM-related data in this folder and execute GAM commands. You should not use that folder or the GAM config because you're going to break something, okay? So don't do that. So make the GAM admin folder, make this before proceeding. So that's what we've done. Now set an alias. You should set alias pointing to that if you operate from this directory. Aliases aren't available in scripts. You may want to send a symlink instead, see below. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing with this to one of these profiles. Let's go back into here, ZHRC. I like to normally keep my aliases together, and let's just paste that in. And we've actually got that already. So we don't need to do anything about that. Okay, and let's just double check on the profile. Yep, we've got that there too. Cool. Issuing the following command, replacing file names, blah, 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 blah. Set a symlink. Set a symlink in user local bin or some other location to point to GAM. And to do that, we're actually just going to copy this over here. We had a second terminal, open here, and we're going to paste that in. Push enter, and it says permission denied. So we're going to do sudo, paste it in. It's going to ask me for my password, and that should be sorted. Perfect. So now we're going to do an initialization, okay? So we're going to go into here, we're going to go into the GAMADV folder, and we're going to do this verification, okay? So I'm actually just going to push this to the one side, and I'm going to push this to the other side like this, okay? Let's just zoom this in a smidge, like that. Okay, so we've done all of that. We're now going to go into specific users here, okay? So over here, if I go ls, I'm just on my normal drive, and if I go cd, and I'm reading from here, guys, cd users and admin, so I'm already in users, I'm now in admin, so I'm in myself, so I'm going to say cd bin, and if I go ls, there's stuff in there, and then if I go cd GAMADV-XTD3 and push enter and go ls, you'll see all the stuff inside there. Okay, so you're going to start the copying from here, .gam, and all the way through to verify. So let's copy that, and let's actually just make this bigger. Okay, and let's paste that in. So .gam config drive underscore dir users admin. So that's going to have to change. That's wrong. Let's go here. Paul and then GAM work verify. Let's push enter on that. Okay. And what you'll see over here is it has done, it's made things for you. Inside the GAM config file, you will see a whole load of different things. So now if we go into here, into GAM config, you'll see all of these things being created. The gam.cache, oauth2.lock, and the gam.cache, this will start filling in stuff just now. Okay, so that is all nicely done, and it's all nice and pretty. Let's now push this over to the right, and let's now carry on. Okay, so this is done. All of this is good. Now we're going to verify the installation, that this was a successful installation. So we're going to copy that, we're going to copy that, and we're going to go all the way down to the bottom here. Okay, and we're going to paste that in, ls-l, and then gam config dir, and you'll see that all the stuff inside there is good, and this is what's great. So now we're going to actually start doing this. We've set up our Mac properly. We're now going to start actually connecting from the Mac to the Google Workspace. So let's jump in. We're going to say gam create project. Okay, let's copy that. And let me just clear this whole thing. Okay, let's just push this over to the right, to the left, and that one's there. So I'm going to paste that in, gam create project, push enter, and wait. Just be patient. Okay, it says here we can't find the OAuth2 file, we can't find the OAuth2 JSON file. It's important that you obviously do this. So now let's go into this, and let's copy this, and let's go into the admin console of your Google Workspace. Let's paste that. And now, just to tell you, there are things in here. And as you can see, I've done this a couple of times. The problem is you can't delete these things. So I can't even pretend that I haven't done it and I'm doing this all for the first time with you. You can't delete it. What you can do, however, is you can go into here and you can say change access. And you can say that for the whole of the domain, we can say this is blocked. Okay, and you push next and the whole thing will be blocked. Okay, you can go through the whole process. But for right now, we're just going to carry on. So we're in here and it says here, click on add app and copy this whole thing. Copy that, add app, OAuth, and chuck that in. Search, GAM project creation, let's push select, and let's tick that, and say select. And what do you want to actually have access to? Do you want to have access to your entire domain? Absolutely. Then you can do taming G Suite or obviously your domain. Or if you want to do specific org units here, you can choose that, and you can choose specific things like only access to the teachers. Okay, but I'm going to do the whole company right here. So continue, and I say it's trusted, and I say continue, and go all the way down to the bottom and say finish. And depending on if you have Google Workspace for Education, you might get this. This is parental consent because some of your children might be under age of 18. If you don't have it, you won't probably see that. Okay, so let's say confirm, and there it is, confirmed. Okay, so now I'm going to push enter. Enter your Google Workspace admin or GCP project manager email address to authorize the projects. So we're going to go here, and I'm going to grab my super admin here, which is admin@taming G Suite, and I'm going to chuck that in there. Okay, now often when you copy and paste, it includes the enter, the sort of like the new line. So don't just push enter a couple of times. As you can see that I actually pushed enter because I was nice and impatient, so don't do that. Okay, it says here, what do you want to do? We want to say allow that, and then it says that has been done. Okay, so if we scroll down here, it's now creating the GAM project. So up until now, we've been working in Google Workspace, and obviously on your local Mac. What it's doing now is actually creating a project in the Google Cloud. Okay, now if you've never used Google Cloud before, don't worry. There's not that much that you have to do, and it is free for what we're going to do. You can get credits and you can do other stuff. You can host virtual machines and Kubernetes and other fun things. But for right now, we're going to do something that's free, so don't worry. Okay, so now it's created all of these. It's looked at all the APIs. It's sort of like it's set it up in a project called GAM Project Z0S stuff. Okay, now that's important now. Okay, so please go to this. And if you look at this URL, you can see that it's Cloud Console over here. So I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to chuck this in here. So this is the first time, this might be the first time you're looking at the Google Cloud. And what it's going to do is it's actually created a project. So each one of these connections, you'll see that it creates a project. And what you'll notice, if I click on this, you'll see I've created quite a few projects. And if I go to all, you can see I've created a crumb load. An absolute crumb load. Anyway, I'm going to cancel that. Anyway, so that is what we're looking at, and we're going to go down to desktop app here. And, oh, sorry, let me just actually point this out. So if you've got GAM project Z0S over here, that you can see is GAM project Z0S at the top there. Okay, just so you know. And we're going to go and we're just going to call this GAM Mac OS 2. Why not? And say create. Okay, and we're client ID, so I'm going to copy that. I'm going to chuck that in, push enter, and now we want the client secret. I'm going to click on that, go down to the bottom here, paste it in, push enter, and it says here, please go to this link now. So if we go back to this, you might recognize it, you might not. I've been doing this for a very long time, so I recognize things like this. And if you paste it in there, it goes to the same place as we were before, where we did this GAM project creation one. Okay, and we're going to click on this doodah. Copy. And we're going to say add, OAuth, pop that in, say search. It's going to say GAM. We're going to say select, please. Click on that, select. What OU do you want to have it? Do you want to have it for your entire domain? I'm going to say for the entire domain. And I'm going to say it's trusted. Continue. And I'm going to say finish. Confirm, because they might be under 18. And you'll see I've got another one over here. So it's done all of this. It's done all of this. I'm going to push enter. And it says, that's it. Your GAM project is created and ready to use, which is nice and exciting, but it's not real. It's not real. So we're going to go here and we're going to go down here, and we've done this and we've done this and we've done the project. And so we've done all of this, and that's where we are right now. Okay, it says that it's ready to use. So now we're actually going to do the client access. Okay, so we're going to get a list of scopes and we're going to run this. So let us run this and say .gam and OAuth create. Now, if you go through the GAM forums, which obviously are linked in all the courses here, and all the courses and all the resources, you'll see that a lot of the times people stuff something up and it's not working, it's not giving the permissions. This is what we normally suggest, is go to GAM, OAuth, create, and try and do this. Make sure that everything's here. So now if we go into this and we go into the GAM config, what you'll notice is that there's only things like client secrets and GAM and OAuth lock. But what we're going to do now is it's going to create something else. So GAM, OAuth, create, push enter, and please be patient. Okay, you've got this over here. Now, if you've watched the Windows thing, you might be bored of me saying this, but only select the ones that you're actually going to use. The ones with the little star next to it is basically saying the calendar API is going to do that, and this. So there's an R option, which is read only. There's an A, there's action only. And there's a lot of things here. But if you don't need a reseller API, for instance, then don't select it. I've seen a lot of people go and they go and select all the scopes, and sometimes it doesn't actually work. So just select what you need to use. Otherwise, yeah, if you want to use this, the reseller API or the email audit API, for instance, which is number 38, I'm going to type in 38, push enter, and now you see that it's actually got a little star next to it. Okay, perfect. I'm going to say continue and enter your Google Workspace admin email. So my admin email is that. Check that in, click on this. And if you look here, it says here, these are all of the specific things that we were looking at over here. So all the ones with little stars are the ones that are over here. So let's scroll down and let's say allow. It says completed and it's all working. Okay, I'm going to just step back for one thing, because in the Windows one, it actually broke and it wasn't working properly. And that gave me an idea to actually show you this. But what actually happens is that if there's a problem and you've got this unable to connect here, you might actually have the problem and you need to actually do something with it. When it says here, do the URL from another computer, only URL data up to and scope. So if you go and look at over here, this has obviously worked. So this is not going to be perfect. But if I copy that URL and open up a text file and I paste that in, what it's looking for is if I go Control F here and I say, Command F, and I say scope, you will see that this is where the scope is. So if you've got a problem and it has broken and it hasn't allowed you to do it, this part up until there, part before the and scope part, you would copy that and you'd go back to your terminal and you'd paste it over here into that thing. But mine obviously worked because I'm super cool. Okay, so we've now got this. It's now done all of this. And now we're going to do what's called a service account. We're going to check that the service account actually works so that I can actually not just work on my stuff, but I can work on other people's stuff too. Okay, so we're going to do this, and we're going to say /gam user, and we're going to say what other user do you have. Okay, so it's going to be one that isn't an admin user. So I've got other ones here. Let's just see here. Under directory, if I go to users, yep, I've got quite a few people, and I've got Michael at Taming G Suite. And he's not an admin, so I am going to say Michael at tamingsuite.com, and I'm then going to say check space service, and because this is just a bit close, I'm going to just drag it over, service account, one word, service account, enter. Okay, it's now going to do a couple of things. I'm just going to make this bigger so you can see. It's now going to do a couple of things. It's going to check that my time is actually right on my computer, and then it says it's passed. And then it's going to look at other things, like all these APIs. Can it actually work on Michael with these APIs? Can it work on it for his mail? Can it work on for chat, for classroom, whatever it is? Can it work on it, yes or no? And obviously it's failing. So what it's going to do is it's going to tell me, you're going to have to do this now. Okay, so let's just do this again. Let's push this over to the right. And it says, go to this address. So I'm going to say, cool, I'm going to copy that. And I'm going to chuck that in here, for instance. Okay, and it says, here's the new client ID. I'm going to say authorize. And what you'll notice is this is all the OAuth scopes that have been added. And these are all the ones that were failing over there. So I'm going to say authorize. And because there's some under 18s, I'm going to say confirm. Brilliant. So let's go back here now, push the up arrow and push that to check again. Now, depending how big your Google Workspace is, it might take a couple of minutes. Depends how fast Google is that day. It might take a couple of minutes to actually start passing. I pretty much have never found it taking more than 10 seconds to actually start passing. So let's just make that bigger. Okay, and they're all passing now. So while that's continuing in the background, let's actually go down here. Okay, have you verified your service account? That is all cool. And then finally, you can update your GAM config with some basic values like customer IDs and stuff like that. So we're going to do that in another video, so come back for that one. But let's actually now test that this works. So let's actually just clear this whole thing and say GAM info domain and see what it actually tells me. So give it 2 seconds, let it check. It should come back with a couple of things. What your customer ID number is, what your domain is, whether it's verified, when it was originally created. And if it can give you that, 9 times out of 10, you're properly authenticated and your GAMADV-XTD3 is up and running. But if you now need to do Linux, check the following video. If you need to do Windows, check the previous video. If you need to do Cloud Console, check the second to following video. And if you are a reseller or you're working on multiple Google Workspaces at the same time, check a couple of videos down. I'll see you soon.